In this video, we're looking at China and Taiwan. We want to get a good sense of what's going on between these two countries, the relationship, why it's so contentious, and to take a closer look at the finer points in this relationship. Now, China is one of the largest countries in the world. It's one of the strongest countries in the world. It's one of the most powerful countries in the world economically. China, of course, has a very strong economy, and it is the second most powerful country in the world in terms of economy. It is very, very competitive with the United States and the Western countries. China is also the second most populated country in the world, just behind India, just slightly. Just the numbers are just a few 100,000 between the two, at 1.4 billion, right? So China is at 1.4 billion people, and that's a lot of people in the world. Of course, 1.4 billion we're talking about, right? So that's what? That's about 15 to 20% of the world's population, right, that we're talking about here. And this is very significant, and this gives this country a huge leverage in the global stage. Now, the point is, what is the relationship between China and Taiwan, right? So Taiwan is right here. This is China, of course. This is China, and this is Taiwan right here. And Taiwan is only 160 kilometers away from the mainland, just 160 kilometers. And this is known as the Taiwan Straits, right? This is known as the Taiwan Straits right here, right? The waters between the two countries is known as the Taiwan Straits. Just 160 kilometers divide the two countries, right? So Taiwan is a state that governs itself. It's a democratic state. It's only 24 million people. It has multi-party democracy, and they've been very successful in their democratic practice. The capital is Taipei, right? The capital of Taiwan is Taipei. Of course, the capital of China is Beijing. Well, it's interesting to note that both countries have China in their name, right? So China, this is the People's Republic, right? People's Republic of China. This one. Of China, the big one, right? And Taiwan is known as the Republic of China. That's the official name. The official name of Taiwan is the Republic of China. So this one is PRC, People's Republic of China, and this one is ROC, Republic of China. Now, this is very confusing, and that's because Taiwan was once upon a time part of China. It was part of China, although China believes that it's still part of China. And in 1949, the communists, when the Communist Party took over, the government ran to Taiwan. The government of China, right, exiled themselves, so to speak, to Taiwan in 1949, when the Civil War was going on, when all of the political turmoil was going on, that has led to this current situation that that has made China a communist country. And the entire government fled to Taiwan. This was a very significant point in the history of these two countries, right, because it created a division between these two countries. So Taiwan becomes a very interesting situation. It claims to be an independent country, but yet it's not recognized by a lot of countries. China isolates any country that recognizes Taiwan. It does not have any diplomatic relations with any country that recognizes Taiwan, and puts pressure, political pressure, economic pressure on those countries not to recognize Taiwan. And recently we've seen the visit by top U.S. government officials like Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, visiting Taiwan, really brought the anger of China to the fore. And China held military drills around Taiwan, etc. Right? And it's very important for us to understand this relationship. China has its own immigration policies, immigration processes. Taiwan also has its own immigration policies and processes. It has its own passports. It has its own visa entries. It has its own policies, regulations, laws, and so forth. It's operating as an independent country, as the president who is elected. So it's operating as an independent country, but yet it's not recognized by a lot of countries. So, right, and that's because of the policy of one China state, right? So one China, right, policy. What does that mean? It means that this country, right, and mainland China are one. And this has really defined Chinese foreign policy for many decades now, and ensuring that other countries toe this line and see China and Taiwan as one, as not separate. Because that's the belief, that's the political belief on the mainland, that Taiwan is part of China. right? So even though China does not have actual control over the highland of Thailand, right? And Thailand is an island, as you can see, right? They consider Taiwan to be part of China. And as a result of this position, Taiwan is not a member of the United Nations. It is not, a member of the United Nations as an independent member of the United Nations. It's not one of the countries of the United Nations. Again, because of the one China policy. Now, it's important for us to understand this policy because this is what is driving all of the tension, right? Because when countries visit Taiwan independently, well, China looks at it differently and say, what is going on? Are they infringing on our sovereignty? Are they infringing on our rights as a country? They begin to look at it within the context of sovereignty, within the context of interference in its foreign policy, etc. Right? So again, we should understand this policy very well, the one China policy that is driving all of these tensions in the region. Officials from other countries visiting really, draws the anger of China, right? So Taiwan and China are completely separate in terms of, again, visa policies. They have their own separate passports. They have their own laws. They have their own mechanism for enacting laws. Again, Taiwan is only 24 million citizens. China is 1.4 billion citizens, almost 60 times larger than Taiwan. They have their own legal system, their own judicial processes. They have their own executive and so forth, etc. Very important for us to understand this relationship between China and Taiwan, right? So this relationship is so critical because it really defines the region. It defines what's going on in the region. It gives us a good sense of the relationship between these two countries and how that plays out, in the grand scheme of things, and how that impacts stability of the region and, of course, democratic practice in Taiwan, etc. Taiwan controls the island formerly known as Formosa, as well as small neighboring, small islands here and there and so forth, etc. But nevertheless, it's not seen as an independent country within the context of China foreign policy. And again, any country that recognizes Taiwan, draws the attention of China immediately. And of course, action is taken diplomatically, economically, politically, or maybe even military action sometimes is not off the table. That is the relationship between these two countries. Their names are the same, only differentiated by the full extent of the name. For example, People's Republic of China, right? And that's the mainland. Mainland is known as People's Republic of China, and Taiwan is known as Republic of China, ROC, and PROC. Very important to know the differences.